Hello and welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me into the next Battlerite Champion Spotlight. My name is Wilky and today we're going to take a look at Poloma, the Psychopomp, or for the BLC seasoned player, this is actually Psychopomp, not fully, or at least not the old one that I know, but a very similar champion. Alright, she has a kinda unique standpoint in the support section because she's the only support that doesn't have a separate healing ability. Instead, she either heals allies with her left click or deals damage to the enemy. This is good and bad because, as I said, she has another skill at her disposal. However, should the enemy or your teammate be in kind of bad position, you're either not able to heal the enemy, the ally, or damage the enemy. So this is kind of a tricky and needs to be kept in mind, especially for your teammate as well, should they be dependent on your heal. Anyways, looking at the specs, her Soul Bolt deals 10 damage to the enemy and inflicts Soul Bind. Should you hit an ally, it'll heal them for 8 health and applies Spirit Link. Soul Bind binds nearby enemies together, so if you do this like that, they will be bound together, and should you deal then damage to any of these targets, then they will deal damage. This is actually, you can actually see that it'll not be transferred through multiple enemies, but should these two and these two be bound together, hitting the center one will actually deal damage to all of the targets as well. Now, Spirit Link basically is a similar thing just for the healing abilities, and that it means that if you heal multiple enemies, that the heal will be partially, at least in this case 50%, will be transferred to any other target as well. Her right-click ability is Other Side, which basically makes a target untargetable and gives them increased movement speed by 40%. That basically is a very good escape ability, which can be either used for herself or on an ally to help them escape out of sticky situations or avoid damage that is very imminent. Her space ability, or space bar, is called Spirit Guide, which she can both either target an enemy or an ally. Should she target an enemy, it'll deal 12 damage. This is what it's going to look like, and create a small knockback. And should you hit an ally, it'll heal for 16 damage. The recast ability you just saw basically works the same regardless if you hit an ally or an enemy. Do you hit any of these targets, you are able to teleport. You can see this little spirit that is left where you hit the target. By repressing space, you'll be teleported to your target. Her Q ability is Spirit Rift, where she has an AoE around herself that'll cause spell block, which basically means should the enemy cast within these 0.5 seconds or be during a cast already, it'll fear them for... This one doesn't actually run away, which is sad. But basically, should the enemy not be as immobile as these dummies, the enemy would be running away for 2 seconds at increased running speed. Similar to the one from Lucy, should the enemy take more than 16 damage, the fear or panic effect will be broken and the enemy can be moving again. Ghost Wolf summons a Ghost Wolf that strikes up to 3 targets, which basically bounces between targets. It can bounce between the same target again, so let me just see, maybe they're not close enough. We're just gonna make sure. And as you can see, that the wolf can actually bounce to the original target as well. So it's a very strong ability in both 2v2 and 3v3. And it applies this Soul Bind, which basically means that any damage will then be linked, similar to the effect I showed you at the beginning. Alright, taking a look at her X abilities. Her first X ability is Soul Transfer, which basically increases the amount of heal or damage you deal with a spacebar, and it changes it a bit because you're not gonna teleport to your target, but instead you're gonna change positions, which is very, very reminiscent to the old Psychopomp and BLC. But as I said, you won't teleport to the target, but instead you will be switching positions with either your ally or your teammate, or your enemy for that matter. Her second ability is Soul Drain, which basically heals for 15 health and works very similar to the basic Spirit Rift. And this is what it's gonna look like. The only difference is that you're gonna be healed for 15 health. So this is basically a self-heal, because if maybe you've realized that since Poloma doesn't have a designated healing ability, she cannot target herself with left click, so she needs an ally to be able to transfer some of the healing to herself, which makes her as I said, in a very unique position for the support classes or champions, because she cannot actively heal herself with her main healing ability unless she has an ally nearby. So this self-heal is actually quite valuable to her. And the spell block works exactly the same. Her third axe ability is Pixie, which is very reminiscent to the old Psychopomp ultimate. And basically this pet or her weapon will then be summoned as, I guess, a mimic, which then will mimic your abilities, although in a weaker version. So you will deal 2 bolts that'll deal not twice as much damage, but you can see the flat damage here, that the mimic damage will be 7 and the mimicked healing will be 6. Unfortunately, there's no duration listed, but it feels like this is around 4 seconds or 3. So it is a relatively long duration, and she increases her burst or her heal quite a bit. So this is a very powerful tool for 25 energy. Her ultimate is Ancestral Spirit, which is just like any other ability for her, both offensively and defensively able to use. You're inflicting 12 damage on the initial summon. As you can see, once the spirit summoned, then you'll deal 12 damage, and once it disappears, it'll deal another 36 damage, which is quite a heavy hit. However, due to the nature that all of the champions usually have some sort of mobility, it might be tricky to land the full hit unless the enemy has no way to escape. Also, other than dealing damage, it can also heal allies as well as yourself. So as I said, this can be used offensively to kill or damage targets, or defensively to heal yourself and heal allies. For the healing effect is a bit stronger on the initial heal, but the second heal is not as good as the damage one. So overall it deals more damage than it heals, but it's a lot easier obviously to land the heal and support your allies with it. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the Battlerite Spotlight for Poloma, the Psychopomp, and also hopefully see you guys in the next Spotlight as well.